Hey everybody, welcome to our very special edition today.
Yeah, today we're going to be doing all about stats and we're going live.
So this is being recorded completely live. We are not going to edit this. We are literally whatever raw footage we do, this is what's going out to you on Saturday the 19th. So Saturday the 19th, this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
Of April, Saturday the 19th of April. But we are covering the quarterly stats, what's happened already in 2025 for real estate. So stick around. We will be right back after this with everything you know. We're going to tell you, should we be giving a thumbs up to the market this time or
thumbs down?
We'll let you know right after this. Be right back.
Welcome back, and if you get value from this content, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of our content.
And we are so happy to have you here. And trust me, there are going to be some glitches between me going back and forth in camera.
Yeah. Normally this is all done in editing, so...
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to be flipping the camera back and forth, and hopefully you're going to get some close-ups of me. Hopefully you're going to get some of the both of us, and also, hopefully...
some of me.
if this works. But anyway, let's get into the actual stats. So first of all, Russ, were you surprised by any of the stats that we saw this time?
Not really. No, not overly surprised by any of the stats.
And why is that?
Because we're looking at these on a weekly and monthly basis anyway.
Yep.
It's just that members of the public are not necessarily, tuning in and asking those questions. Whereas we're looking constantly because it's our job.
Absolutely. So I'm actually running the stats every single week on the MLS. And what do you do every week, Russ?
Every week I look at the numbers. I do stats as well. To see, I update part of the record with how many houses sold that week, what the interest rates were for that week.
Well, so what you look up, because the MLS that we have is mine.
Yes.
And so you by law can't use it.
No.
So what you're looking up is the interest rates and what the average price of a house would, the average house price, what it would cost somebody.
Yeah. So I look up.
You're looking up the practical
bank rates and stuff like that,
the
and
bank
seeing
rate.
what the interest rates are for a given zip code.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at those numbers nationally and also for a local zip code,
which is basically in the Racine area.
Yeah.
To give us a kind of, we try to take like a normal Racine zip code because Racine and Kenosha are pretty much the same on this.
Yeah. And so we're looking at people who have a rate of like 700 to 719, and we're looking for what the interest rates will be for a given zip code.
And what that means payment-wise for you as well. So what can you expect when you go to the bank? What payment can you expect? What down payment is that going to cost you, et cetera, et cetera? Now, the average price of the average list price, okay?
Yep.
For the quarter, because we do this every single week, we do what's called a market snapshot, where we're just getting that last week, right? And that kind of goes up and down a lot. But when we look at, data is always better in bigger chunks, agreed? Mm-hmm. And so the quarterly numbers are really the important one. And the quarterly numbers, the average list price in Kenosha, Racine, this is Kenosha, Racine counties combined, is, drumroll roll, Russ. What is it?
You have it.
You have it too.
I do. So the average list price is $408,075.
Okay, that's the average list price, but don't get too scared by the fact that that's a $400,000 number for the list price. But the reason you shouldn't be too scared about that is because I'm going to give you the actual sold price.
Yeah, so the sold price is what it actually got on the market.
And what the sold price has told us from this quarter is that we still have some pretty delusional sellers out there, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the average sold price is $331,167. So that number is a lot better. Now, keep in mind that the sold prices and the average sold price includes everything that's very expensive and everything that's low. So that is not, average is not a first-time home buyer house.
No. And plus, some of those that were overpriced, shall we say, may not have sold and may have expired and come off the market, but they would still be included in those average list prices.
Absolutely. So anybody who was really so delusional that they decided not to sell their house at all, they weren't serious about selling their house, those are included in the list prices. But for a house that actually sold, on average, the average sold was in that 331. And that you need to think of as a second or third house. So if you are on your first house right now and you're thinking about upgrading to second house, or you're on second house and you know you need a bigger house and you want to upgrade once, then you're probably looking at $331,000, which is not so bad because most of you also have a lot of equity in your home.
Yeah, so if you've been in your house, 7-10 years.
Heck, if they've even been in their house 5 years and haven't refinanced.
You'll have got some equity in.
Well, and when I say you haven't refinanced, I don't mean that you haven't refinanced to get a lower rate. But if you have not refinanced to pull money out or to re-amortize over a new 30-year rate, then you're in pretty good shape as far as equity goes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just from the last 5 years. I mean, literally, if you bought in 2020 and you haven't refinanced, you got a ton of equity in your house because prices have changed so much. So even just a 5-year ownership, you probably have the money to upgrade right there in your house.
Yeah.
Which is really encouraging, I think, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I do it too.
Yeah. So that gives us to the average square foot, the average price per square foot, which is $191. So that means that an average $1,000 home, 1,000 square foot home, which is a pretty good sized starter home, that actually means that the 1,000 square foot home, you're looking at that still being under 200,000.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good, don't you think?
It's very good.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's not much out there for under that, from around 100.
Well, there's actually quite a bit from 150 to 200.
150 to 2, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the 190, so 191 though is that number that a first-time home buyer should expect.
Yeah.
If they get an average house at the average square foot, at the average price per square foot, you're looking at about $191,000 house. Yeah. Now, it might be slightly older, like maybe older finishes, like maybe the carpet's clean and everything, but it is, not brand new, or maybe it has all hardwood floors, but they haven't been redone in 10 years.
Yeah, they want refinishing and stuff like that. And there's lots of companies out there that will do that for you, and they do a great job.
And to be honest, a lot of people don't ever get those refinished for another 10 years or until they're getting ready to sell, because when you're getting ready to sell is a great time to get them refinished, because then your cats, your dogs, your pets, your kids, whatever, have not scuffed them up, and you're actually maximizing your use of that value.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the pets and the kids to scuff up those hardwood floors, go ahead and get them redone for your own pleasure and your own enjoyment, for sure.
Enjoy them while you've got it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now, the sold to list ratio is 97.4%. That means that the average house, what it was listed at, that's sold. Now, this does not take the ones that expired. This only takes the houses that have sold and looks at what their list price, at what price they were listed at. And I will tell you, Russ, when I first looked at the number, I realized that it was saying list price to sold price. And I thought, no, we're going to look at original list price.
Yeah.
Because original list price is what a seller first puts their house on the market for.
Yeah.
And that's a better metric.
That's before any adjustments have been made. Like they'll drop their price $5,000 or $10,000.
Correct. Like maybe they weren't getting it sold, and so they had to drop their price to 10, 15, 20 grand in order to get it sold. And if they did that, well, that gives us a really good metric. So in the past couple of years, that metric has actually been in the 99%, 100%, 101%.
Yep.
But there's some really good news for buyers out there. You know why? That number is right now 97%. That's really good.
Yes, it is.
Because it means there's not as much of this, I've got to bid 20, 30 grand over in order to get this house.
No.
That's awesome. That's, I think, is
so that means people are coming down in price and
yes.
being more reasonable. Once they haven't had an offer for a little while. Now, we don't say that you would come in straight away as soon as the house goes on the market and try and undercut the price,
Right.
because you're probably not going to get that one accepted, because they'll leave it on there for a week or two.
Yeah, absolutely. But you absolutely have a chance. If this house has been on the market for a week or two and there's no offers on it, you definitely have a chance to come under that asking price for sure, because people are still wanting to sell. But we are still seeing that the vast majority of homes are selling in less than 30 days. Over 50%, I think. Let me see the chart here, because I did print up some of these stats as well. And one of these stats, the listings here, active pending, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the right one. I'll find it here, because we had these, they printed back to back. Here we go. So within 30 days, 0 to 30 days, 53% of the market is still going under offer.
Yes.
So they are going under offer and closing, and that's still over half of the market. But there's the other half. The other half is where you find your bargains. So if something has been on the market for 30 days or more, it's worth looking at.
Make an offer.
Make an offer and bring it under asking. So if I was buying right now, if I was looking to be a buyer and I wasn't desperate to get in a house, like I didn't have to do it tomorrow, right?
Like first-time home buyers.
Right, first-time home buyers, you don't have to.
People that already got a house, they haven't even put their house on the market yet.
Yep.
But they're looking, because some people can buy before they sell.
Yes, a lot. In fact, about 75% of the people we work with who own a home can actually buy the next home without selling.
Yeah, we work with a great lender who actually has
a system.
Loans that...
Well, he has a system that works it out, and you're able to leverage the equity in your house, so you don't have to bring money. You don't have to bring, like, so to speak, cash to closing.
No.
And we give a really conservative estimate for the sale of your house, so that way and we make sure those numbers are going to work for you.
Yeah.
So that we don't get tight up against the ending numbers for you. So, but that's awesome, because that means 50% of the market is selling after it's been on the market 30 days.
Yeah, and so that is when a seller would start getting nervous.
Yep, exactly.
Because they may have already offered on another property.
Yes.
Or they found the property and they can't risk offering for it until they've got a buyer for their property.
Correct.
So they're more willing to be negotiable on price.
Yes, exactly. My parents were just in this situation where somebody put an offer on their house and has their house on the market and it's not selling, but it was like going kind of back and forth and it was not good, not great. But they finally are getting it sold, which is awesome. But it's really, really cool, because 50% of the market is selling after 30 days. Now, if you are a seller, what this means to you is that it means you need to price your home correctly. It means when your agent says, hey, this is probably the best price to price your home, and it's a trusted agent, someone you know has done their research, someone who's brought you comps, whether it's me and Russ or whether it's somebody else, because there are other great agents out there. But if it's one of us, or if it's either us or other great agents who really do their homework, make sure your agent does their homework, because if they do their homework and they know stats like we do, then it's okay. They'll be a great agent for you.
Yeah.
Because they know their stats, they know their numbers, and they know how to work those numbers for you as a seller. They know how to price your home so that you're in that 0 to 30 day metric of that first 50%, not in the second 50%. So that's a really, really big thing. So make sure your agent knows their numbers. Now, absorption rate, that's what we've just been talking about. There are, however, for people who want to buy something that is really low priced, like an investor or something, when I ran all these numbers, I did a quick check, and I did find that there were 4 homes that were actually listed under $100,000.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shocking.
So there are homes available if you want to do work on them.
Yes. Absolutely. So if there are homes that are that way, or they are homes that have renters in it, that it's been difficult for that seller to get people in. Yeah. And so they've lowered their price and lowered it because they just want to, sometimes it's an estate where they just don't care and they want to be done with the home.
Yeah, they want to be done and get it off their books, and they
move on
struggle.
with their life.
I've had it myself when I've tried to show a house, and and it was tenants there.
Yeah. In fact, Russ actually had one of his most successful real estate transactions because there was a difficult tenant and he had the buyer and he just kept going and going and going. And they made sure that they got in. It took him, what did it take him? 4 or 5?
4 attempts. On the fourth attempt, I got the listing agent who was from the other side of the state, more or less. Like
the other side of Kenosha County.
Yeah. And
that listing agent never came up to the property.
I got her to actually come and open up for me so we could see the property, because I said, this is ridiculous. And that's why it hadn't sold. And when we got in there, surprise, surprise, it was immaculate.
Yeah, it was the nicest property.
It was the nicest tenanted property I've ever been in.
Absolutely.
And obviously my buyer said, yes, I want it.
Yeah. And one of the tenants was moving out anyway, I believe, and he wanted he wanted 1 unit for himself, but he wanted a rental unit.
He had to have 1 unit for himself.
Yep.
And then while he was doing that unit up, he wanted to put all new kitchens in.
Right.
He put new kitchen in.
Yep.
While he was living in that unit. And then he moved to the lower unit, because the lower tenant was moving out.
Yep.
And so he moved to the lower unit and rented out the upper unit, and while he did the lower unit.
Yeah, absolutely, which was awesome. And honestly, it was one of the best properties you've ever sold. And the problem is that poor seller, because he had tenants, because he made some decisions about letting the tenants be in control of opening the doors
of showings and
that landlord actually lost, that seller actually lost money.
Because that would have sold
so fast. It would have sold so fast if people had been able to get in, but most other agents would have given up after trying twice.
Yeah.
Not Russell.
The first time, the first person to see it would have snapped it up.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that my buyer was the first person to see it.
Well, I don't know if fortunate's the right word, because you were dogged in getting into that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's all about fortune. That's about hiring the right agent. I'm gonna toot your horn a little bit on that one, because that one was absolutely about you working hard for your client. Now, the other thing that we talk about in the stats are, the flip side of this is house prices, but the flip side of house prices that's also a big factor is
how many are sold and listed.
Yep, how many are sold and listed. So we already talked about that, but not about that. That's about the pricing.
Yeah.
But the other side of pricing is interest rates.
Yeah.
Because house prices are one aspect. Your debt to income ratio is another aspect. And both of those two things influence what interest rates you get. So interest rates, let's talk about interest rates for a little bit. What was really exciting is last year at the end of 2024, we saw interest rates actually quite, still a little bit high, still in the 7s, pretty consistently for most buyers. They were still in the 7s, and that's not necessarily fun. So.
No.
But at the beginning of 2025, what did we see?
We saw them start to come down.
Yes. And in fact, was it in February, right near the end of February, I think it was, that it dipped into the 5s for a little bit, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. At the end of February, it dipped into the 5s for just a little bit, which was awesome. Now, it did go back up into the 6s. But what I like to point out to people, if you bought a home from me when I first started in real estate 12 years ago, almost 13 now, if you bought a home from me, you are probably in a phenomenal position if you want to sell or upgrade right now. And the main reason is your interest rate when you bought from me was probably 6%. When I started in real estate 13 years ago, all of my clients had high 5s or low 6s.
Yep.
That was their interest rate. Mm-hmm. And if you're worried about the whole down payment thing, if you have not refinanced to pull money out of your home, you're still in a great shape.
Yeah.
To upgrade. And if you are, and now there's the third factor that really influences so I want to just really hammer this point home. People think, interest rates are so high, they're not anymore. They're right in the 6s. No. They're solid in the 6s, and they've been there for a while now where they're really steady there. Yeah. They may go down a little bit, but we're never. I actually
laugh over the interest rates when people say 7, it's so high. When I bought my last house in the UK, it was at 18%.
Yes.
that, you know, the interest rates then. That
Yes.
was the bank interest rates. Yes, I got it lowered later on through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that was 18% when I bought.
So when we hear 7, we're like, okay, yes, is it higher than 1? And people are like, well, no, but the 7% or the 6% coupled with the higher prices of homes. Yeah, but what you may not realize is that your income from 12 years ago has probably gone up as well. You are probably making more money. You are definitely making more money now for 2 reasons. One, the economy has gone up some. Now, agreed, the economy has not gone up as much as inflation has. However, most people, once they've been in a job 10, 11, 7, 8 years in that range, they're usually moving up pay grade within their company.
Yeah,
they are not a starting wage. They're not a starting wage in their company. They've had a pay increase over the years. They've maybe moved up into management because maybe their job has changed and they've gotten even better at it, or they've become a supervisor. So whether you have paid attention to it or not, your income has actually gone up in the last 10, 12 years, unless you've gone through a lot of like job losses and things like that. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone. But the other thing you need to consider is how strong our job market is here. And this was actually, it wasn't surprising to me because we saw this. We saw this happening.
We've seen this happening, because when we keep up on an area that we're looking at, we're also looking at, there's a lot of land there that's up for sale.
Yes.
Or they've started building here. Who's building here?
Yes.
And what's being built here?
Yes.
And there's a lot of new companies moving in to Kenosha and Racine.
Yes.
That brings jobs.
Absolutely. 100%. There's a ton of companies. And in fact, we went back and we asked Grok, which is an AI in case similar to ChatGPT. We went in and we said, we asked the question, which have we seen, like where have we seen, companies coming in? So the first thing I asked was which new companies have come into the area between 23 and 24 in Kenosha and Racine County. And here are the details we got. Nokia expanded its footprint. Microsoft moved into Racine. Amazon expanded its footprint. Uline exploded its footprint in the last 2 years. We Energies has actually raised its footprint. All right. And what was most interesting when we were looking at this is here are the job sectors. So if you are thinking about, if you're young and you're saying, where should I want to stay in the area? Where are jobs starting to show up that are really like, where are the solid jobs showing up? I actually then asked, I said, okay, out of these new companies, what sectors are they in? What types of jobs are they creating mostly? And where should people go for jobs? And here's what I got back. Transportation and warehousing, so logistics.
So not just these big companies that are moving in.
No.
There's also along the I-94 corridor, if you've seen it, there's tons of warehouses going up.
Yes, absolutely.
So they all need drivers to deliver that stuff or move it around.
And they need people in those warehouses, even if it's just logging them in and logging them out.
Yeah.
And that is logistics. So if you're a young person looking for what type of job do you want to get trained for because you want to get a good job, logistics is exploding along the I-94 corridor. It actually has exploded, but is continuing to grow. It's a growth industry in Kenosha and Racine County for sure. Yeah. So transportation and warehousing, construction.
Yeah, because they have to build these places, some of them.
All these places have to be built, 100%. Yeah. So construction is a really, really big area.
And then the knock-on for that is because they're building construction, they're doing the warehouses that's going to create the jobs. There's also going to be a housing boom because of that, because they're going to have to start building houses.
Well, actually, we've actually already seen a housing boom. In fact, we're working with a new builder he was doing new construction maybe 15 years ago, got out of the business and is now feeling very good about the economy and is actually, in fact, we're in the midst of a project right now. If you're interested in new construction, let us know, because we have a brand new house that'll be ready by the end of June, and he wants to get that sold quick so that we can get on the market and get back.
And get another one.
He's actually already asked us to look into a couple of pieces of land that he wants to buy so he can get into the next project.
Yep.
So he is ready to buy new projects. So absolutely. And if you already have land and you want to have a good builder, he's willing to get into a new project because he can manage multiple projects at the same time. So that's not an issue for him. So definitely let us know. But construction, great industry that is starting to explode. The other thing, professional, scientific, and technical services is what they were saying. All right? Professional, scientific, and technical services. And here's what it says. This sector has grown in Kenosha and Racine with a notable increase in white-collar jobs. So this is between things like management at Uline, management at Amazon, places like Eli Lilly,
That's
who
also
are
moving
expanding.
in.
Well, they already
They're
were
expanding.
here, but they bought the Nexus Pharmaceutical land, and they are doing a 3.6 billion. Was it?
Yeah.
They're building they're expanding into 3.6 billion in construction. So you construction guys, you're still busy, but they're going to have a lot of the scientific needs at the pharmaceuticals once they are up and running with their new facility, and then manufacturing, because even in these pharmaceutical areas, they still have to manufacture. But that's like Microsoft is also a white collar, the new Microsoft stuff, because those are data. That's a data center. And that means they need IT people who understand data and understand how to storage and collect and how to back up and how to protect that data, because that's basically a huge data center. So they need that for the white collar jobs. But we also need manufacturing, because those pharmaceutical companies have to make the packaging that their pills or the bottles or the vials or the syringes, that all has to be manufactured. And a lot of them are doing it here in-house locally.
And another company that's
and Uline,
also building
Uline manufacturers
on what they've already got is Foxconn.
Yes, Foxconn is also building on as well. So these are new places that are coming in. So honestly, manufacturing is a big, big thing, it says. We have growth.
Yeah.
We've seen, even though across the state, and here's what you need to pay attention to, even though across the state there have been job losses in manufacturing, Kenosha and Racine have retained some strength due to companies like Nokia expanding and smaller manufacturers. It's a slower growth than others, but it is growing. And that's what's good, because if the rest of the state is not growing and we are, that's important for you guys to know. And
we have
to make
some
things.
great manufacturers in Racine and Kenosha.
Yeah, but the thing is, what you're looking at is the industries that you want to get into, an industry where there is growth, for sure.
Yes.
And there is definitely growth happening here in Kenosha and Racine, which is why, for me, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for our real estate market for 2025?
Oh, I think it's going to be a thumbs up.
We are already seeing some really positive signs. Lots of thumbs up to lots of manufacturing and lots of jobs, more jobs coming in every day. We look and there's more jobs coming in. Number two, thumbs up. Interest rates have come down a little bit and have stabilized. So that's also good.
Yes.
Number three, thumbs up. House prices have stabilized. They are no longer going up at 15 to 20%. We are now stabilized at the regular around 4 to 5%. Yes, we're still going to see growth and go up, but we are only seeing a 4 to 5% up. And that is super important. Now, if you want to get our mini market update every week, shoot an email to me at Kimberly@timthomes.com. That's KIMBERLY at TAM as in Mary, T as in Tom again, TAMTHOMES.com, and just say mini market in your subject line. And I will add you to get our mini market update every single week. That comes out every Tuesday with the new MLS numbers from me.
It does.
And the interest rate and payment amounts from him. And it's a good tag team thing. So we both keep ourselves in the data. We both keep ourselves knowledgeable. And we both keep ourselves with our finger on the pulse of the housing market.
Up-to-date information like how many houses sold that week, how many houses came on the market that week, what the interest rates were at the banks that week.
100%. So if you need If you need help, great, reach out to us. But go into 2025 with confidence. This housing market is going up. I was saying it in 2024 and no one believed me. No one believed me, Russ. What's wrong with it?
I know.
People don't. Actually, I shouldn't say no one.
How many people have said to us, oh, the prices are going to come down. The prices are going to come down for the houses.
Yeah.
The interest rates are coming down.
Which is awesome.
But
that makes it cheaper for you. House prices are stabilized, though. They've stabilized and they're going up at a regular growth rate.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 areas that are going thumbs up for Kenosha and Racine counties, which means that thumbs up, this is a great time to be buying or selling, because if you have owned your house for 5 years or more, it's still a great time to sell and upgrade because the house prices have not gone out of control in our area yet. And it is still a great time to buy because if you've never bought, because house prices are up, but they're stabilized and they're not going to like rocket again for a while, I don't believe.
No.
So we've got some great news for you, but we do appreciate you being here. Russ, what do you want to wind this up for us a little bit?
Yeah, so once again, if you found value in this content, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of our content.
Yep. And we are so thankful that you watched today. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully we've brought you a lot of value and information. But for now, bye for now.
Bye.
Yeah. Here we go. I remember back when I was young and clever